Tonight on To The Point, a weather impact alert.
The rain in the valley has arrived. Snow is just beginning to pick up. The heaviest snow will fall this evening. I've got the forecast.
Plus the impact of President Trump's latest tariffs on steel and aluminum, sparking retaliatory tariffs around the world.
We have been abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer.
As more federal workers are laid off, questions remain about the cuts made to Yosemite National Park.
Just backwards thinking to think this is a place to achieve staffing reductions.
Why California lawmakers are divided on whether visitors will feel the impacts. And hundreds of state workers protesting Governor Newsom's return to work mandate. Why they say it's unfair.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. We start tonight tracking a weather impact alert. A winter storm is bringing rain, snow, and strong winds to Northern California. And take a look at this. In Sacramento, weather caused a tree to fall on an apartment building. This off Andrea Boulevard. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. But let's get over to meteorologist Brendan Minchev tracking these conditions tonight. Brendan, what can we expect?
Yeah, well, honestly, the heaviest rain has already fallen in the valley. That was that band of rain that came through between about 4 and 5 o'clock. It was really heavy rain at times, but now that has moved up into the high country, and look at what that is doing to the snow levels. Just within the last hour, snow levels continue to drop. We're talking about snow falling near Pollock Pines right now. You can see that snow level continues to work down the Sierra, approaching Placerville. Now, I'm not saying it's going to snow in Placerville, but could we see flurries at some point tonight in places like a Placerville or a Forest Hill or a Grass Valley? I think that's absolutely possible as that colder air starts to move in. Looking at some of the Alert California cameras, you can see all these cameras between about 2,000 and 3,000 feet. Of course, the exception there, the Williams camera in the valley. So even a little bit of clearing in the valley after that really heavy rain had moved in, but we're still seeing some heavy rain across parts of the foothills. And then as soon as you go above about 3,500 feet or so, now we're talking about snow. And that snow is going to continue through Thursday with that weather impact alert. So the other thing we're now watching for are valley thunderstorms. That'll begin tomorrow. The heavy snow in the Sierra continues from now through tomorrow, just to make that clear. But if you're thinking about going up to the high country, go ahead and rethink that. We're seeing major disruptions to Sierra roads and highways. And again, this snow is just getting started. We'll look at Futurecast a little later in the show, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. And as you mentioned, we are tracking those conditions in the Sierra. ABC 10's Luke Clear reports tonight from Cisco Grove out in Placer County.
Snow coming down on I-80 at Cisco Grove. You can see it starting to accumulate there on the road. Here is where Caltrans is enforcing chain controls. They're making sure that nobody gets on the road without chains on their tires. Forecasters have predicted this storm for some time, but earlier today we had sunshine. That can be misleading according to Caltrans.
There's a couple of pockets of sunshine, but then you can hit it again. It's going to be those changing conditions that we're going to be battling as this storm starts to roll through and then really get into the heat of things later on tonight.
At higher elevation near Kingvale, a line of trucks on the side of the road, drivers installing chains. And in Truckee, a fleet of tractors waiting in the wings at Elements Mountain Company.
It goes from this warm to getting so cold, you never really know what to expect because a few degrees could turn into an epic storm or just something normal.
Ryan Roberts is the snow removal operations manager. The company clears snow from thousands of residential driveways and a couple dozen parking lots every winter. It's preparing for what could be a hectic few weeks.
March storms, it seems like everyone kind of starts to take their foot off the gas and people are forgetting about it. But, you know, we're always hyper vigilant in March or April because a lot of times we get our bigger storms this time of year.
Caltrans says you should rethink Sierra travel if you don't absolutely have to come up here through this. And if you do, make sure your car has emergency supplies inside. Reporting from Cisco Grove, Luke Clary, ABC 10.
And our weather coverage does not end here. You can always stay up to date with the latest weather and extended forecast news on the ABC 10 Plus app. It is free to download straight to your TV. Turning now to the Trump administration's first 100 days, Canada and the European Union have announced retaliatory tariffs against the United States, and it comes after Trump imposed a global 25% tariff today on steel and aluminum. So Canada retaliated with a 25% tariff that will affect more than $20 billion worth of American exports. The European Union's tariffs will primarily target goods like beef, bourbon, motorcycles, and jeans. Trump say the U.S. will respond with reciprocal tariffs.
So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. Nobody can complain about that.
Canada's tariffs will take effect overnight. The EU's will start on April 1st. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency says he plans to roll back dozens of environmental regulations. Lee Zeldin says he's rolling back 31 environmental rules, including those on pollution from coal-fired power plants, climate change, and electric vehicles. He says these actions will eliminate trillions of dollars in regulator costs and, quote, hidden taxes. More job cuts are expected at the nation's Weather, Ocean, and Fisheries Agency. So far, the company has laid off more than 1,200 probationary employees. And according to the Associated Press, the agency is planning to cut an additional 1,029 workers. Combined, that accounts for 20% of NOAA's total workforce. And we're also learning more tonight about the layoffs made at the Department of Education. More than 1,300 workers are being let go, cutting the agency roughly in half. Now, the department is already the smallest of all the cabinet-level agencies. It's responsible for everything from managing federal loans for colleges to enforcing civil rights laws in schools. It also funds education research projects. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says the cuts are just the first step.
What we did today was to take the first step of eliminating what I think is bureaucratic bloat. We kept all of the right people and the good people to make sure that the outward-facing programs, the grants, the appropriations that come from Congress, all of that are being met, and none of that's going to fall through the cracks.
Most funding for public schools is already at the state and local level, but the department does oversee billions of dollars in federal funding to help low-income students and those with disabilities. Following federal layoffs at Yosemite National Park, there are still many questions about the impact eliminating these employees will have. So tonight, ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen spoke to Democratic Senator Alex Padilla, who believes these cuts are hurting the visitor experience, while Republican Congressman Tom McClintock says that visitors won't feel these cuts.
In this letter to the Department of the Interior, Democratic U.S. Senator Alex Padilla is asking for a better visitor experience at Yosemite National Park, and he believes it starts with proper staffing.
Now is the time to be investing in the recruitment, the training of that personnel that we rely on for public safety in our national parks, for sanitation.
With the warmer months ahead, Padilla says he is concerned about long lines, trash, and wastewater treatment, and the need for a well-staffed park will be important.
The spring and summer and fall will be upon us before we know it, and a lot of visitors that visit Yosemite and other national parks throughout California.
All of this comes as the Trump administration has issued layoffs and funding freezes. This is part of the president's promise to cut costs to promote government efficiency. Last week on the House floor, Republican Congressman Tom McClintock doubled down on his support for cuts at Yosemite and claims the layoffs were not that many people.
What is the actual number of layoffs at Yosemite National Park that will bring this beautiful valley to rack and ruin? 10 probationary employees, 10 out of nearly 500 full-time winter employees.
McClintock even claiming a majority of the national park's working staff across the country do not physically work at the parks they're employed to.
In 2023, 34% of the National Park Service employees across the country were still working from home. Need to find the nearest unlocked restroom? Well, just email them.
Senator Padilla disagrees.
This sounds like nothing other than yet another Republican member of Congress towing the company line. If there are any remote employees, they're helping with the reservation system and other important administrative support.
All right, Jeannie, so we know Senator Padilla sent this letter. Has he gotten a response from the Interior Department yet?
Alex, he told me he still hasn't gotten a response, and he's not confident that he will. And the letter is also asking the Trump administration to approve Yosemite's National Park's Visitor Access Management Plan. Padilla says Yosemite implemented a temporary reservation system during the pandemic and again last summer. he's hoping to make this reservation system permanent.
All right, Janie, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And an update tonight, Congressman Kevin Kiley says he will be hosting a teletown hall on Monday. This email was sent to people living in his district today. It comes after several of his constituents expressed concerns, saying their emails, calls, and letters have been going unanswered. We have details on how you can attend that town hall. They're on our website right now. Still ahead onto the point why hundreds of state workers are protesting the governor's return to work mandate.
Heavy snow is falling in the high country right now and will for the next several hours. If you're thinking about going over the high country, my recommendation is don't. We'll look at Futurecast coming up.
Plus, how lawmakers and the state superintendent are attempting to address affordable housing concerns. All right, things are changing in our forecast. I want to bring in meteorologist Brendan Minchef, who's going to really break down this weather impact alert because people need to be aware on the roadways.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's March and I know we were just 70 degrees yesterday, but things change pretty quick here in Northern California in March. And especially this is true in the high country right now. We have a continuing weather impact alert through Thursday. Now, the heaviest rain in the valley has already come through. That doesn't mean we're done with the rain. We're going to see showers through the overnight and tomorrow, but we'll also have a chance of thunderstorms on Thursday afternoon. But the heavy Sierra snow is going to continue all the way through tomorrow. Need to rethink travel, especially across the Sierra. Major disruptions to Sierra roads and highways are ongoing. First and foremost, we've got chain controls out right now. We'll talk more about that in a second. But over the last 6 hours, you saw that really heavy line of rain right there as it moved through about 4 o'clock or so this afternoon. And as soon as that cold front, right, that was what was pushing that heavy line of rain. As soon as that hit the Sierra, look how quickly those snow levels have dropped. We're talking about accumulating snow in places like Pollock Pines over the next 24 hours or so because of how cold this storm is. This is a very cold winter storm through the Sierra over the next, again, 24 hours or so. Chain controls across 80, 50, 20, 88, and 89 at this hour. And remember, this snow is coming down at 2 to 3 inches per hour and will continue to do so through the evening and into the overnight hours. So the roads are not going to be improving anytime soon. Through the overnight, we'll continue to see some scattered showers in the valley. Tomorrow morning's commute is likely going to be wet in the valley with scattered showers continuing. Now we're approaching lunchtime. We still see snow up in the Sierra, and here's those pop-up showers and thunderstorms in the valley Thursday afternoon. So again, just because the bulk of the moisture in the valley has already come through doesn't mean we're done. Here are those model snowfall totals, anywhere from another 2 to 3 feet in the Sierra. Interstate 80 here. The numbers aren't populating, but certainly Donner is going to be looking at quite a bit of snow. Again, anywhere from 2 to 3 feet on the high passes of I-80 and US 50. Highs tomorrow, colder once again, back in those middle 50s. Friday is cold as well. We'll have some showers in the region, snow in the high country. Then we get a little bit of a break headed into Saturday, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Next, on to the point, as the Department of Education orders colleges to take action over anti-Semitism concerns, a law professor is weighing in on what it means for the future. Plus, hundreds of state workers protesting Governor Newsom's return to work order, why they say it's unfair. Welcome back. Today, several hundred state workers took to the streets of Sacramento to protest against Governor Gavin Newsom's return to work mandate. They say it's the first of several actions that they'll be taking to push back on what they call an unfair mandate. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has all the details tonight.
A crowd of hundreds of SEIU Local 1000 members wrapped around the California Department of Human Resources building in downtown Sacramento on Wednesday. Union members holding a Protect Telework informational picket to protest the governor's mandatory return to office policy, which forces state employees back into the office 4 days a week starting in July.
It's devastating. I've built my life around telework. I've invested my own money in creating an office at home. You know, I have this comfortable setup at home, and now it feels completely arbitrary that I have to sit in traffic, I have to come down here, I have to struggle to try to find parking. SEIU Local 1000 represents about 30 to 35,000 workers who would be affected by the new policy.
You better give us that 4%. What do you say?
Anika Walls, the union's president, says many are angry and will have to deal with raised costs without public services provided.
for our people, it's a pay cut. We know that telework makes sense. We saw it through COVID. We saw the governor himself put up a dashboard, and it showed that the infrastructure was better, the environment was better, we were more productive, the state was saving money.
Last week, the union filed an unfair practice charge with the Public Employment Relations Board. We reached out to the governor's office. They tell us the state will respond to SEIU's filing through the board's process. Troy Nimmo, an IT worker, questions how this move makes fiscal sense for the state.
I'm hoping that Gavin Newsom sees what kind of an impact this is making and looks at the bottom line. If he cares about California and about the budget, he's going to maybe rethink spending hundreds of millions of dollars getting everybody back in the office with no obvious benefit.
And while workers don't believe the governor will reverse the mandate, they're asking him to compromise.
Ideally, the situation would be that he would allow departments to make their own decisions about telework, that telework would be a right for every single state employee who's able to do their job from home. There's no reason that I need to come into the office to do my job.
In downtown Sacramento, Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
And I do want to mention the governor's order allows telework exceptions on a case-by-case basis. In a statement, Newsom said, quote, "In-person work makes us all stronger," end quote. The union president says that they plan to keep the pressure going in every way, shape, and form. This is something we will continue to follow. A new bill could help create workforce housing for teachers. Today, State Superintendent Tony Thurmond announced his support for the bill. Senate Bill 502 would help districts with pre-development costs like architecture and permits to turn surplus land into workforce housing. Thurmond says the money would come from a $75 fee on real estate documents the government sets aside for affordable housing. The bill is asking for 5% of that fund.
125 districts. If they get between $100,000 and $200,000 for pre-development, that could per year, that could ultimately lead to upwards of 100,000 units as a start.
There have already been successful teacher housing built, like the Jefferson School Project in Daly City. Here in Sacramento, Twin Rivers Unified School District has plans for affordable housing blocks away from Natomas High School. The Education Department is warning colleges they could lose federal money if they fail to make campuses safer for Jewish students. So the department sent a letter on Monday to 60 colleges, including Sacramento State and UC Davis, where pro-Palestinian protests led to accusations of anti-Jewish bias. The letter warns the schools of potential enforcement if they don't fulfill their obligations under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. ABC 10 spoke to a McGeorge School of Law professor today, Leslie Jacobs, to understand the legality of the letter, and she says the administration has enforcement authority under Title VI, but says there is a fine line of what speech the government can prohibit.
The government can't hinge its funding on limiting the free speech rights, either of the students on the campuses or of the universities themselves. Here we're talking about conduct that is actually discriminatory towards Jewish students in this instant. And so that's what we would have to distinguish. Are there behaviors that the universities will permit in the future that would discriminate and deny benefits to Jewish students? That would be a problem.
Jacobs also says that government actions like this are sometimes meant for messaging rather than having an actual effect. And we did reach out to our local universities that received these letters. The UC President's Office released this statement saying, in part, quote, "We want to be clear, the University of California is unwavering in its commitment to combating anti-Semitism and protecting the civil rights of all of our students, faculty, staff, and visitors. We continue to take specific steps to foster an environment free of anti-Semitism and other forms of discrimination and harassment for everyone in the university community." Sacramento State sent a letter saying, in part, our university takes its obligations under Title VI very seriously and, consistent with these obligations, is committed to serving students of all backgrounds, regardless of race, color, or national origin, and providing an environment where students can learn, live, and succeed free from race, color, or national origin discrimination or harassment. Next, on to the point, changes on the horizon for Sacramento County, where developers are planning a new waterfront hotel. All right, before we go here, a new waterfront hotel is in the works in a small Delta community in Sacramento. The proposed hotel is being developed by West Rivers LLC. Plans for the 4-story hotel include 60 rooms with waterfront views, a marina, restaurant, lounge, and an outdoor event space. The proposed location is next to the Willow Ballroom, a venue for weddings and banquets along Highway 160. The co-owner of the center says there's been a need for overnight stays.
2016, we opened the Willow Ballroom Event Center, and we've done about over 300 weddings since then. We'd love to be able to offer overnight accommodations for our wedding guests. There's also approximately 10 other wedding venues on the Delta, as well as maybe 10 wine tasting locations. And again, a small boutique hotel would be a wonderful addition for those businesses.
Developers hope to open the waterfront hotel in 2027. As always, thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. If you have something we should be looking into, reach out to me and the team. I'll see you tomorrow.